everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome to my YouTube channel. I am the Real Cass Perry, and today we are going to be looking at Miss Demetri Falco's YouTube channel. So I was pre-informed about this one. Basically, the whole video that we are about to be reacting to is an uninformed hypocrite reacting to an uninformed hypocrite being reacted to by a slightly more logical, uninformed non-hypocrite. I don't know. Personally, I like to think that I have a non-hypocritical view when it comes to this specific subject. However, I guess we'll find out here shortly now, won't we? So this here is Miss Demetri, and my very first impression personally is I really like her makeup. Honestly, I really, really like her makeup. I think it looks really good. I have absolutely no idea how the hell she caked on enough makeup to like cover over her eyebrows so that it looks like they're not even there so she could draw on the little black lines on top. Like, I don't know how she did that. It looks pretty cool. I don't know how she hit her eyebrows. Her eyeshadow looks great. Yeah, she's a very pretty lady. Like that's my first impression. She's really pretty. But let's see what she has to say because I don't know. Let's just check it out.
Hello, my name is Demetri and welcome to my channel. And today
Hello,
I
Demetri.
really want to talk.
Hello, Demetri. Welcome to my channel. You are now a character, I guess, on the Real Cass Perry channel. Congratulations. You are one of my reactees. Let's see how you do. Let's see how you
About the
stand up
most
against
disgusting podcast I've ever come across. So the podcast we're going to be talking about today is the Whatever Podcast, which is run by a man named Brian Atlas. So
I'm gonna be honest. I have seen the Whatever Podcast. I am not a fan. Personally, I don't like the way that they speak to women. Sometimes they do purposely bring on women who do not have the ability to properly rebuttal them. However, they do have some decent questions and viewpoints, but a lot of the way that they treat people, they're a very, very misogynistically rooted podcast. That's my personal opinion. Anyway, let's see what she has to say.
Seen clips of this podcast going around, and all of the clips I have seen from this podcast are degrading to women in some way, shape, or form.
Okay, I can agree with that. That I can very heavily agree with. But they're also, I don't know. I'm not sure if they're trying to be degrading to women or if they're simply trying to defend men. It's a sensitive, tricky subject.
The Whatever Podcast as a whole is a right-leaning, misogynistic red pill podcast where Brian has various women, literally like up to 8 women at a
Okay, so it's right-leaning, which means that they're not like extreme right, which they're not. They're not completely against, literally, as far as I know, the only time that I've ever actually seen the Whatever Podcast was when they were doing collaborations with Roma Army, who is a men's rights advocate. And that's all that I really know about them, other than they do tend to purposely look for some delusional women.
time at the same table, and he, to my knowledge, is like interviewing them, and basically the whole podcast is just him having these gotcha moments with these women to make them look stupid.
But would he really be able to have a gotcha moment or make them look stupid if they were not answering the question in a way that he could have the gotcha moment that makes themselves look stupid? like, I'm going to be real here. The Whatever podcast does typically tend to bring on some people who they know are not going to be able to answer the questions that they are asking. They tend to bring on people who they are going to be able to portray as stupid. People who think that they are smart, who they are going to be able to portray as stupid. And that's their shtick. But at the same time, they do also tend to degrade, be a little bit demeaning towards any type of liberally charged concept, or be a little bit demeaning towards women, quite frankly, the whole way through their podcasts. So I can agree with that.
It's very disgusting. I think it's very concerning. It's really horrible to see a platform that is dedicated to degrading women. And that's basically all this podcast is. And today I need to talk about it. So they purposefully find...
So I don't know if their entire podcast is dedicated to degrading women. I feel like it's dedicated to... Now, I may be wrong here. I would like everybody to correct me if I am wrong, but I believe that their podcast is more dedicated to uplifting men's mental health and social advocacy for certain things that are genuine men's issues that are typically downplayed quite often by people in the area of feminism and the feminist arena of... I'm just going to shut up now because I'm going to get so much hate for this outlook.
Women that they know are going to be controversial or lewd or not very smart. And I'm not saying that to be mean towards women. Let me just give you an example of what I mean.
What is 34 plus 66?
34 plus 66?
99.
98.
What year?
34 plus 66. Well, to do that, you literally just put 66 down, and then you put 34. So you add the 4 and the 6 first. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You carry over the 1. So that would be 4 plus 6 again, which would be another 10. You see where I'm going here? It's 100. But this fella purposely brought on people who he knew weren't going to be able to do math, or who were not going to sit there and explain it to him as if he is an idiot. That I can agree with her. This is a little bit misogynistic. He just wants to make women look stupid by bringing on women who he knows are stupid. But I have been told that she has quite a few very, very, very bad takes throughout this video, and adds in a lot of different arguments that don't need to be argued. So let's take a look.
Where was the U.S. founded?
I know the answer to that.
Okay.
1982.
The United States was founded in 1982.
Demi.
Who did the U.S. gain its independence from?
France?
We brought this up earlier.
So, very clearly, they bring on people that
England!
they know are going to answer incorrectly to these questions. Today, we...
Yes, they know that already. That's why they bring them on, because they're trying to make people look stupid. Look, if they didn't purposely set their podcast up like this, you would not have a video to make, dear girl. Like, they only bring on people who they believe are stupid because they want people to stop listening to stupid people. They purposely bring on people who are already popular online, who they know are going to get a lot of views on their podcast because they are a guest. And then they showcase their stupidity, which, if I am not incorrect, is the exact same thing that you are trying to do here by blatantly, I don't know, being absolutely just upplaying everything that happens on the Whatever podcast. Like, I'm pretty sure that these ladies sign waivers.
We're going to be looking at clips because I tried to sit down and watch the podcast, but the podcast themselves...
So she's only going to be showing us clips because she doesn't want to watch the entirety of the podcast, because she doesn't want to be able to see if they ever do genuinely have a point in any conversation. She doesn't want to see them be right. If there is ever at any point in time that she believes them to be right, she is going to be offended and turn off that screen. She wants to watch the horrible clips of them being awful to people, which is literally how they draw people into their show, because they want to see if it's really as bad in the actual podcast itself as they are portraying it in that one singular clip. They want to find out the context. That's the whole point of the demeaning clips. They want people to look at that, go to their page, and find out the context behind that clip. I might be wrong here. That's honestly something I would do.
The one that I wanted to watch literally went on for 7 hours. What could you possibly have to talk about for 7 hours? How could you degrade women?
A lot. Maybe they genuinely enjoyed their conversation. Maybe the women who went in there were enjoying being there. Maybe they wanted to be there. Maybe everybody who was there, maybe they had multiple different topics to discuss. Maybe it was a genuine debate. Have you thought any of this through? Did you think anything through? It's a good thing she's got pretty eyes. That's all I can say. God damn it.
For 7 hours straight. And so, very obviously, I'm not going to sit and watch a 7-hour video. And also, when I tried to sit down and watch the video and see if I could skim.
Why not? Why the fuck not? If my boyfriend can sit in that living room for multitudes of hours straight and watch the entire Lord of the Rings series from start to finish in chronological order, may I remind you, from beginning to end, do you know how many hours that is? If he can do that, you can sit through a fucking podcast. So that you can properly make your video and get your clips and genuinely know what the conversation is about and know what they are talking about so that you can have the information. But you don't want to do that, and you just admitted it. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but when I'm making a video about anything, like if I'm going to be doing a reaction video to a podcast, that is typically one thing that I don't do live. Now, Miss Demetri, would you like to know the reason that I don't do that live? There's a reason I don't do that live. If I'm going to be reacting to like a 7-hour long live stream or something of the like, my very first thing that I do is I'm going to pre-screen record that. I pre-screen record it, I watch it through my own time, and I genuinely think about the content for a few hours. I genuinely think about what was said. I genuinely sit there and think about every single argument that was made the whole way throughout that. I sit down and I think logically about it, not emotionally, logically. Because if we do not have the ability to think logically about every single situation, Miss Demetri, rather than emotionally and from a specific type of experience that you claim is your own earned experience but is actually someone else's, like, girl, yeah, you have to know what the context is. You have to watch the entire stream for the entire podcast. Otherwise, you have no idea what's truly going on in that video. You can't just look at clips and say, oh, this is how it went. No, because you need to know what the entirety of the argument was. Like, you can take clips from said podcast. Like, you genuinely just told me that you don't want to put in the work, the exact same amount of and type of work that I am actually putting in for your video. I do already have it pre-screen recorded. I've watched it a couple of times. I wanted to make sure that I have this down pat. I was pre-informed about what was going on, and I have pre-watched this multitudes of times. even though I genuinely think that this was brain rot, actual brain rot. The entirety of the video that we are reacting to today is a hypocrite reacting to a hypocrite. That's what I'm watching. And I hate that this is basically goth on goth crime right now because it just makes me sad. Us alt girlies should all be able to stick together and do our thing together. But guess what? Guess what? There's too many of us that act stupid.
It and get certain plot points. The things that were coming out of this man's mouth were just absolutely disgusting. It was very explicit and
to be fair, so are the things that come out of a lot of the women's mouths. Along with yours throughout this video. So, you know what? I'm just gonna let the viewers see for themselves because this is ridiculous.
Nature and the things that he was saying were just very graphic and honestly made me very uncomfortable. The clips that are commonly shown on their TikTok platform does not include.
You mean kind of like the graphic clips that make me very uncomfortable that come from a lot of modern day feminism activists that genuinely are not even remotely trying to bring about equality of men and women. They want supremacy. They want to make men basically out. They're trying to make an Amazonian type of society where women are on top and we are in charge, and that's not right at all. When women's suffrage started, it was about equality. Everything up until the point of 2024 was always about fucking equality, not about supremacy. There should never, ever, ever be any point in time when anybody is saying that anybody, whether it be their gender, their sexuality, their race, anything, nobody should ever think of anybody in any group as dominant or supreme over the other. We are genuinely all supposed to be equal. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if you believe in any type of Christian, Judeo-Christian, or religious views in general, you understand that God or the gods or the goddess, whatever you believe in, genuinely created all men and women equal. We are all equal to each other, whether you fucking like it or not. Just because crazy feminists stand there want supremacy doesn't mean it should be that way.
These horrible graphic things that he's saying to these women, probably to avoid TikTok terms of service. So I am going to be watching a more polished version of this podcast, but I honestly felt so uncomfortable with
a more polished version, meaning that she literally had somebody edit out anything that she would find, that she would be offended by the fact that she agreed with it. She doesn't want to be able to agree with these people, so she is cutting out absolutely any and every part of any and all content that she's going to watch from them that is going to be in any way, shape, or form agreeable to her. And she specifically left one in that I feel like if you genuinely believe in equality between men and women, you would fully agree, yeah, the way that they word it is really, really bad, but yeah, it's kind of an agreeable concept. Why exactly is it? Somebody please explain to me why it is that I have only ever met one person. I know literally one person who got right here on their nose, their septum pierced. I call that a septic ring for a reason. It's not a septum ring, it's a septic ring. You are a septic human being. I only know one person who has that is not a horrible human being, and she's a piercer. The only people who have a septum ring that are not horrible, terrible, genuinely awful human beings work in the piercing industry. Funny that, isn't it? The only reason that they have it is because they had to practice doing it in the first place. Huh. Like, seriously, if you have a ring right here and you are not a far left extremist, you need to take it out because you look like a far left extremist and everything that comes out of your mouth is going to make you sound stupid because of that thing on your nose. Like, I do have a nose ring as well. It's in not only in a different spot, but the only reason that I have a hoop in my nose is specifically because if I don't, it's gonna go down the drain. My nose ring gets caught on so much stuff on a regular basis because I work in a very extremely active industry where I am in areas quite often where like branches get caught on my nose ring, like stuff happens. That's the only reason that I have a hoop in it, and the only reason that I leave it in instead of just taking it out in general is because I just don't want the hole to grow over in case I want to put a pretty nose ring in it if I'm going out or something. So anyway, let's just get back to it. I'm over talking.
He was asking these women. So a big kind of like bit that he does is ask women about their body counts, and you know how I feel about the whole body count conversation. I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
No, it kinda isn't. It's wanting to know how much experience your partner has so that you know whether to be a little bit intimidated, expect some fun things, or, be a little bit nervous that you are one of very few people that are on their body count because you don't know if you're going to like scare them, disappoint them, what. Like there are multitudes of reasons that people have the body count conversation, and it has genuinely has nothing to do with how dirty they are. Some people, yeah, it has to do with how dirty you are, but other people, no, it's genuinely nothing to do with that. It's just there's a lot of different reasons. Anyway.
But misogynists do use body count as a way to hold things above women's heads, to make them feel less valuable. It's a very disgusting system, honestly. So
that is also true. That is also true, which is why I genuinely believe that we should start normalizing calling men ran through the same way that they call women ran through. Equal rights, equal fights, motherfucker. Okay? If like people are gonna be screaming about equality for everything, let's just genuinely make it equal instead of anybody trying to like gain supremacy over anyone else. Okay?
So very commonly, a lot of the clips from these podcasts are him going around in a circle and asking women what their body counts are. Ugh. And that is just one of the many ways that he degrades women on his podcast. He literally just brings women onto his podcast to degrade them. And I think it's horrible, honestly. And I feel like...
No, he doesn't just bring women onto his podcast to degrade them. He also brings men onto his podcast to also degrade them. Like I say, I've only ever seen parts of it, like the episodes where he is there with Roma Army and she is co-hosting with him, and they're talking about men's rights specifically. But at the exact same time, they do genuinely choose people who are trying to be activists in these areas who genuinely know nothing about what they're talking about. Who genuinely just want to force their belief systems onto other people. Who genuinely just want to force the way that they want the world to be down other people's throats. And have no idea about anything, can't even do math, as you already showed. Like, girl. I do want her to go on the whatever podcast at this point.
He purposefully looks for women that he knows he is going to have these gotcha moments with. And so, like I just showed you the video where these women are very obviously answering these questions incorrectly. I know that was...
Because they have no idea what the answer is. I'm sorry, but if you live in America, like, most Americans don't know when America was founded. I'm gonna be real. Most Canadians don't know when Canada was founded. We are stupid. Okay? People are fucking stupid. We're all stupid. I'm stupid. I'll be the first person to admit I'm stupid. Maybe you should admit that you're stupid, because you know nothing, Demetri.
not a mistake. To the average red pill viewer, it may just be fuel to the fire for these red pill people to be like, yeah, you know what, women are stupid, and statistically they're just less smarter than men, and here's the proof right in the pudding, because every single woman he brings on this podcast, they always answer it incorrectly, and they always say something ridiculous. Boys and girls, that is not an accident. That is fully on purpose. That is a tactic that he
Yes, it is on purpose, because he genuinely picked creators who are trying to advocate for things that he is talking about in his podcast who have no idea what they are talking about, who are stupid when it comes to other human beings and mental health in any way, shape, or form, or what it is to have a healthy relationship, just like he has no idea what it is to have a healthy relationship, or what it is to be a part of the world. Neither do you, ma'am. By the sound, like, I can't wait for everybody to finish this one.
is doing on purpose, just to literally make women look stupid, and that is his entire platform. It needs to stop. This is disgusting, and I think anyone who gives fuel to young men who believe that they should not treat women with respect and that they're less than men, I think any platform...
I think that everybody should treat everybody with respect, unless you're a fucking dumbass and you don't deserve it. What? What the fuck? We need to stop advocating for young men to not treat young women with respect. Maybe we should stop advocating for young women to not treat young men with respect as well. Maybe we should stop advocating for anybody to disrespect anybody. We should just stop teaching disrespectful behaviors to the next generation. I feel like that would be our best solution here. Not trying to invent female supremacy.
that contributes to that is disgusting and needs to stop. Trigger warning for transphobia. I did see a clip that I really want to talk about because it was honestly, to me, really upsetting.
Trans? I don't believe you. I think you're trans fishing, but
3 seconds into the video, 2 seconds into the video. That's an insane thing to say.
Oh my
Isn't that
gosh.
compliment? Maybe that is.
That honestly
Yeah, she's happy about that. That's a compliment. Why are you... And you know what? If she has genuinely stated before in her content before she has gone onto this podcast that it makes her happy that when people think that she is faking being trans, then hell yeah, he was totally justified in saying that. And you know what? If he's just attracted to her, then who cares? If he thinks that she's trans fishing and he is very, very attracted to her, maybe he's genuinely having like a little sexuality crisis, doesn't know what the fuck's going on, like he's into her, and he doesn't like that he's into her, and that's okay. That's okay. He can be confused. Men can be confused. Men are allowed to have confusion within them. People are allowed to be confused. You're allowed to be confused, Demetri. This entire video is just your confused brain not knowing how to comprehend anything that it has to do with any kind of logical fairness or any type of actual meeting in the middle, like looking in between. You gotta figure shit out, bitch.
made me really uncomfortable, and that is not even the meat and bones of what I want to talk about in this video, but saying to a trans woman, I think you're trans fishing, I don't believe you, and then the woman next to her saying, that should be a compliment. That's weird as fuck. I can understand, like, being validated as a trans-
She did not say that should be a compliment. She asked her if that was a compliment while the trans girl was very happily sitting there giggling and smiling and happy about hearing that, and she said, yes, that is a compliment. The other woman did not tell her that should be a compliment. She asked if that was a compliment. And who the fuck do you think that you are, as an obvious cisgender straight woman, for one, to even think about, to even remotely think about speaking for the entirety of the trans community? You're not even trans, bitch. And I'm sorry, but if you're running around yelling that you're a they, them, looking like that, wearing lipstick, no. Ugh. I'm sorry, but if you present as the gender that you were born as, your biological gender that you were born as, maybe, just maybe, you should go by the pronouns of the biological gender that you were born as. If you are presenting as the opposite gender of what you were born as, then you are a trans person. You present oppositely. you have gender dysphoria, you dress differently, you look differently, you do your makeup, you do your hair differently. Like, it's not the same, babe. And trying to say that you're a they, them, and you don't identify with either, honey, you're either just an androgynous man or a extremely manly woman. I believe it's called a tomboy. At least it was when I was a kid. That's normal. That's just a gender non-conforming person. And you don't need to have a specific identity label linked to that. Just That's just begging for attention, in my opinion, but whatever. That's just my opinion. I don't know what goes on in people's brains. Maybe they're fucking crazy. Maybe they're not crazy. Maybe they're having some genuine identity issues and, like, need to go to therapy. And not, like, therapy to fix it, but therapy to genuinely figure out what's going on and try to help themselves live a more mentally healthy lifestyle for themselves in the way that they want to live their lifestyle. And be able to cope with that. That's what therapy's for. Is to be able to cope with things that are going on within your brain and help you live in a more healthy way due to that. Anyway.
Trans woman. I'm not going to get too deep into it because I personally am not trans, so I do not want to speak for trans people. And I know there's a big conversation and controversy.
Yeah, of course, you're not trans, so why are you speaking for trans people already? You just spoke for an entire group of people that you are not a part of. I'm not a trans person. I refuse to speak for for trans people. That is their job. That is the job of genuine people who are within that community, who are a part of that. Me being a gender non-conforming woman has absolutely nothing to do with being a part of the trans community. Therefore, I have absolutely fucking zero right to comment on it. Unless I'm saying something like, hey, I don't particularly agree with us putting children through certain things mentally because, there are some severe things that can happen incorrectly when it comes to their mental health because of, there are some genuine arguments to be made about this, but I'm not going to get into it.
Around passing and not passing, but I feel like it's really weird for a cis woman to sit there and say that to a trans woman.
There should be no conversation around passing and not passing. You're either trans or you're not trans. The conversation that needs to be had around that type of thing is if you are... So, there needs to be a differentiation between genuine trans people and people who are trying to utilize the trans movement as a way to make being a predator easy. And that is a issue that has been going on for the last few years because everybody is terrified to speak out about things. And those people, the people who are utilizing the trans movement as a way to make it easier to be a predator, they are not trans people. They are horrible human beings that are trying to make an entire group of people look worse by putting their actions onto that group. And it is wrong, and it's not okay.
Say, like, you should be taking that as a compliment. That just really rubs me the wrong way.
There were some videos of you because you were like on a date with a guy, you guys kissed, and you told him only after the kiss that you were trans. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Can you just tilt your head back and look up to the ceiling? No, tilt.
I'm not gonna.
Okay, so that is not okay behavior from her. Because at the end of the day, that is a intimate touch. That's an intimate touch. And this is quite possibly a straight man. That could genuinely scar that man in the brain. Like, oh wait. That is something I feel like if you are going to be dating in that type of, I'm not speaking for trans people, I am speaking for cisgender people in this instance. If you're going to be dating people, I feel like you need to disclose to the people who you are dating people have preferences when it comes to dating, okay? Like, you don't know, that person doesn't know that you're trans. And you have no idea if that is a preference of theirs or not. Like, if they prefer to not date a trans person, you're still going to go through with intimate acts with them before they have any knowledge of that, and then inform them afterwards. I don't know why. It reminds me of that song Colt 45, because, like, ugh. Hollywood, she had green hair, but damn, she looked good. I took her to her house, and she was fine, but she whooped at a dick that was bigger than mine. That would terrify a man, okay? I'm sorry, especially, like, if she fully passed, and there was absolutely zero indication that she was a male, and she was, like, a hot, then all of a sudden, like, she pulls down her pants at the hotel room, and there's a 12-inch dong there, yeah, I'd be a little bit concerned. If I thought I was picking up a lady as a bisexual woman, I would be concerned. I wouldn't bother me being bisexual because I'm bisexual. However, if I was like a full lesbiano and that happened, I would be a little bit triggered. I would be distraught. I wouldn't know what to do. I would be very upset that I just seen a penis. Does this woman think before she speaks? Like, is she not reflecting on the things that are being said in this video? Is she genuinely doing her best not to listen and twist the words?
Is so incredibly disgusting. He is trying to get this trans woman to lift her neck up so that Brian can see if she has an Adam's apple, essentially. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I don't think—
Because that is a part of feminization surgery. They tend to shave down the Adam's apple as a part of the facial feminization surgery. He probably just wants to know if she had it done.
Trans people have anything to prove to you, and that honestly is just a very, like, invasive thing, and I think it's really disgusting. And I honestly just think it's really upsetting to see.
And I think that it's disgusting and upsetting to see somebody get upset on the behalf of somebody who is obviously not offended by it. Like, she consented to all of this before going on. And if there are people who are a part of the trans community who are genuinely upset by this, maybe they should be the ones making this video, not the cisgender straight goth bitch with a microbang and a square jaw. Babe. And you know what? I wouldn't even be bringing her looks like the. I genuinely think that she is a pretty girl. Especially, like, when I first started the video, like, genuinely, my first impression is that she is so pretty and I love her makeup. But the more that I hear this toxic crap spewing out of her mouth, the more that I genuinely, like, the more she speaks, the uglier that her face looks to me, because your personality is more. I think that a person's personality is more of an attractive trait than their face. Like, if you have a very, very beautiful face and a very, very shitty personality, your face becomes uglier the more that you show your ugly personality. In my brain, like, you genuinely look worse the more that you are awful on the inside. If JLo wasn't, like, an absolute fucking cunt, she would be a 14 out of 10. But because she's a fucking cunt face, she's a 2. In my brain. Is what it is.
Try to embarrass her.
Tilt your head back.
Me. He's trying to
Tilt your head back and look up towards the ceiling.
See, she's in it.
What? There's an Adam's apple?
Yeah.
Even if she has one, who gives a fuck? Who literally gives a fuck?
It's fake. So
He does! He wants to know! He wants to kiss her neck and he wants to know if it's gonna brush up against his nose.
it's a fucking.
A trans person should not have to prove their transness to you. And a trans person also should not have to prove their identity to you, like, at all. And I think—
There she goes again, speaking for trans people, exactly what she said she wasn't gonna do. Look, babe, as a fully straight cisgender woman who has zero bearing in any type of LGBTQ community at all, You have zero right to speak for trans people. I'm an androgynous, like, I am a gender non-conforming woman. Like, I do some manly ass shit. I am a tomboy as hell, and I don't have the right to speak for trans people. What the fuck makes you think that you do? I have the right to speak for cisgender people. Barely. Barely. You don't have the right to say any of this. Yeah, you can say I'm an ally and I don't agree with this, but babe, you're genuinely just trying to virtue signal right now. The fuck?
This is just really disgusting and uncomfortable, and I think that they're putting this woman in a very uncomfortable situation. I guess he's using that as a way to like prove that she's trans because he thinks that she's trans fishing and all of these things, but like a trans person should not have to prove that to you. If a trans person wants to disclose if they're trans or if they're not, I feel like they should not have to prove it to anyone either way. I think we should just let trans people exist. I don't think it's fair to berate them. I don't think it's fair to like...
Maybe you should just, if they want it to be on this podcast, they know that they were going to be berated. They know that they were going to be questioned about it. They know, like, are you stupid? It's no different than the people going on Caleb Hammer's podcast. They know that they're going to be treated like shit. They know what they're signing up for. Are you kidding? And I'm not defending Caleb Hammer. We're going to get into that later. But, girl, you need to think about what you're saying before it comes out of your mouth. You genuinely need to think about it. Like, I might do all of my videos absolutely fully unscripted. I genuinely do. I do all of my videos fully unscripted, but you know what? I have never, ever, ever just not thought about what I was going to say in a video before I started filming. I have never not thought about the topic and not thought about what I was going to say when I was doing any type of a video when I go live. I've never not thought about it. I have thought everything that I was going to say about every single topic over multitudes of times before I've gone on camera. Did you? And are you listening to what you're reacting to?
Quiz them or interrogate them, and honestly this is just really disgusting and uncomfortable to watch, especially if you struggle with body dysmorphia and you are personally insecure about a traditionally feminine or traditionally masculine looking feature.
Body dysphoria, not body dysmorphia. They have gender dysphoria, not body dysmorphia. Body dysmorphia has to do with eating disorders. Eating disorders. Not to do with wanting bigger cha-chas when you have a flat chest and a dong. Babe. Okay, so as somebody who has genuinely suffered with body dysmorphia, genuinely, to this fucking day, I cannot look into a mirror without seeing myself as being 500 fucking pounds. When I look in the mirror or look at myself in the camera, I think I have 5 chins. Okay? As someone who genuinely has body dysmorphia, not gender dysphoria, body dysmorphia. By the way, I have a sibling who has gender dysphoria. So, there you fucking go. There is a huge difference. When you have a body dysmorphia, you genuinely think that you are ugly, that you are fat, that you are the worst of everything when it comes to anything about your looks. You genuinely believe that you are the ugliest of the ugly of human beings. That is body dysmorphia. Gender dysphoria is when you are completely uncomfortable in your skin. You genuinely believe that you are a different gender. You are... Well, you don't even have to genuinely believe it. You know for a fact that you were born in a body that is biologically male or biologically female, but you are just so much more comfortable living your life presenting as the other gender. You're so much more comfortable acting as and being able to live your life as the other gender that things are just more comfortable for you that way. And it is a genuine thing that affects people. And for somebody to... And I understand that the words sound so similar that it can be very confusing. But to compare the two is incomparable.
on your body. It's so upsetting and weird for someone to bring attention to that and to isolate that, and it's just disgusting.
Like her.
Oh,
Yeah, you don't want to accept that she's trans.
Why would that imply that I like her?
Because you're saying it's fake.
What? Okay, the logic is logicking.
Ooh.
I mean, he do. I could tell from the second he started talking to her, like, he wants to get in there. He want to get in there. But that's not a big deal. There's nothing wrong with that. And he can accept that as 2026. He can just be, he can be bi. Or maybe he's just really, really attracted to the way that he looks and he doesn't want to dick up his ass. Who cares?
He don't want to admit that he's attracted to her. He don't want to admit that he's attracted to a trans woman. That was definitely like a, what? No reaction. Oh my god.
gosh.
So this clip just
Girl.
encapsulates the podcast as a whole. It's very
I would ask why you care, but you do care. You care because you want to know. You care, babe. You care. I would ask who cares, but she cares. Sorry. That was a lot.
obviously right-leaning and just trying to put any and every woman in a vulnerable position at her expense, just to laugh and make fun of her at her expense, and again use these women as fuel for the red pill machine. I just feel very bad for that woman to be called out like that.
I mean, to be fair, they agreed to be there. They are a part of the red pill machine already because they genuinely, like, if they weren't already a part of the other side of the spectrum, then maybe, just maybe. And why are you calling it the red pill machine? That is genuinely, like, have you ever seen The Matrix? Babe, you know what that reference is for, right? Like, you take the red pill to wake the fuck up and then run around, be a part of the Matrix, see all the things that you never seen before, know all of the knowledge. And then the blue pill is, like, where you stay asleep and, like, stay in the Matrix and, like, babe, you are genuinely just admitting that you are staying asleep and living in your own little delusional reality. What the fuck?
Oh, but don't worry, he doesn't just attack trans women, but he also, of course, he also attacks immigrants, or anyone who is not from the United States. And this was another clip that honestly was pretty upsetting to me.
Do you renounce allegiance to Colombia? Right now?
No.
Guys, so she became a citizen. In order to become a citizen,
I can do that because that was the country that also like watched me grow.
do you know what an oath is?
Yeah.
Do you know what an oath?
Yeah.
I will never understand the concept of somebody who is so proud of their home country and where they're from, coming over here into a foreign country, waving that flag and refusing to have any loyalty to this country whatsoever.
Thank you.
I don't think it's a ground
Okay, so that is a horrible take from the big burly lady in the MAGA hat. With really pretty hair, by the way. Like, I absolutely love her curls. But that was a weird take from the big burly lady in the MAGA hat. There is absolutely nothing that had to do with that statement that is in any way, shape, or form treasonous to America. Having a type of loyalty to the country that watched you grow as a person, that you grew up in, that you absolutely adored, that you find beautiful, that genuinely made you the person you are. There is nothing wrong with that, and having love for that area. There's no reason to see that as anything negative.
breaking thing to say that a lot of people do immigrate to other countries to have a better life than the life they would have had in their home country. And I think you're allowed to call out the rights and the wrongs of the country you immigrated to, because no country is perfect. If there are issues going on in the country that you immigrated to,
That is true. You should be allowed to call out what things that are happening within your country that you have immigrated to that are happening very incorrectly or being done in a horrible manner. You should be able to call out atrocities against the people of any country that you reside in. Yes. That seems reasonable. But what isn't reasonable is the argument that she makes directly after this. Please tell me. Okay. What isn't reasonable is the argument that she makes directly after this, okay? So
I feel like you should have the right to talk about it. Just like Native citizens have the right to call out their government and their wrongdoings. I don't know why immigrants aren't allowed to do that. I think you can be very proud of where you're from and your culture and where you grew up and who your family is and who you are as a person, and also immigrate to a different country and be a part of that nation as well, whether you like that country or you dislike that country. Everyone has their own rhymes and reasons.
You should be allowed to be yourself and be proud of where you came. Yeah, I get that. You should be allowed, like, are you having a meltdown? What the fuck is going on here?
For the things that they do, and I don't think that should have to be proved to anyone.
What made you come here? Well, for a better life.
An oath is a very sacred thing. You're an oath breaker. You broke your oath. You still have allegiance to Colombia. You were an immigrant. You became an American citizen. You gave the oath of allegiance and you lied.
Can you not be allied with 2 different countries or more at the same time? I mean, people do have multiple citizenships. You can have multiple passports and be a citizen to multiple places. Does that
Yes, that is true. But it genuinely depends upon whether or not. So, she is technically not an oath breaker because she did pledge an oath of allegiance to America. However, that does not mean that she cannot still have allegiance to the country that she came from, especially if she is still a dual citizen of the country of Colombia. Like, if she is from Colombia and she is still technically a Colombian citizen, and she is also a citizen of America, that means that she has dual citizenship, and she has broken no oaths to either side. If she were, however, to completely abolish any type of allegiance or to, as he says, man, I don't even want to get into this one.
that mean that you are a traitor to the other countries that are different from the one that you came from? This logic doesn't really make sense to me. If Brian Atlas were to have a Canadian passport, would that then make him an oath breaker? Would that then make him a traitor to the United States because he has a passport to a different country or citizenship to a different country? If you were someone who decided to go to Canada and become a Canadian citizen and you wanted to speak on the issues that are going on within Canada or some of the harms that they have caused to their people, like, I feel like you should be allowed to talk about that. If you
What harms are we currently causing our people? America is completely fucking up their entire system. What harm is Canada currently causing our people? Historically, yeah, we've caused some harm, and absolutely anyone and everyone has and is able to speak up about that. Girl.
went to Canada because you believed that it would give you a better life, but you didn't necessarily agree with every single thing that went on in that country. Speaking about it, I don't understand how that would make you a traitor or an oath breaker, and this is just a very strange opinion to have. Disgustingly enough, a lot of the comments are a bunch of fat, old, bald men saying, was she reported? I heard she's now under investigation. You can report immigration fraud to whatever fucking ICE bullshit. People saying, so many people hate our country but love our freebies, and this is just a disgusting comment section. That's like saying you went to Canada to have a better life and you were then receiving free healthcare, and if you decided to speak out against Canada's treatment to Indigenous people, that would then be like someone saying, you just came to Canada for the freebies and you're a traitor and you're an oath breaker and you—
That's not called being a traitor to Canada or coming here for the freebies. That is called knowing about Canadian history, because the people who colonized Canada culturally genocided the people who were here already. Are you stupid? And everybody knows that. Everybody already knows that. That is just knowing Canadian history. And no, coming here and saying that you don't like the way that we treated our native peoples when originally, or the way that we even treat them now sometimes, because let's be honest here, native reservations could use a hell of a lot more fucking funding. That doesn't make anybody a traitor to their country. As a matter of fact, that makes them an advocate for the people of their country. What makes people a traitor to their country is, for a pretty good example here, if you decide that you are going to immigrate to a place, yes, you are allowed to speak up about things that you don't like. Yes, you are allowed to talk about atrocities that were committed upon the people. You are allowed to try to advocate for yourself. You are allowed to advocate for your religious rights and freedoms. You cannot advocate for other people to adhere to your way of life. You cannot advocate for our laws to change to mimic the society that you came from. You cannot stand and stand in the middle of Toronto and start a rally burning the Canadian flag, screaming death to Canada, and not be thought of as treasonous. Like, that is an example of a treasonous act that happened in 2023. Less than 2 years ago, they started cracking down on our immigration laws and different things because of that situation. And yes, a bunch of people got deported because of that, and that's fine, because they are threats to our country. If you are going to burn the Canadian flag and start a rally to scream death to Canada in a large group of people in Town Square in Toronto, which is the capital of Canada, yes, you are a threat to to the Canadian country. You are a threat to the Canadian mindset, and you gotta be gone. Sorry, not sorry. That is an act of treason. But any and all of her examples are not acts of treason. The example that is being used within this video is not an act of treason. But, babe, you are allowed to have an opinion about things as an immigrant, and nobody has a problem with that. As long as you're not running around trying to say that it should be illegal for women to wear women to wear pants or short skirts. If you're trying to advocate for women to not be able to like show skin past their ankle or wrist or not cover their heads, yeah, that's going to be an issue in anywhere. But if you're just advocating for better human rights and genuinely doing good for your community, then nobody's going to say a thing. And let's be real here, people do tend to come to Canada specifically because we have free healthcare. And what fucking freebies are there in America? Let's be real here. What fucking freebies does America have? I don't even think America has freedom of speech anymore, really. Like, come the fuck on. I'm sorry, I'm not okay with the whole world regressing.
You just want the free healthcare, but it's like, girl, you can still be a citizen of a country and criticize it because not every country is perfect. I think they're just dogging on her because she's Colombian, and I think this is just more fuel to the MAGA people of like, immigrants don't care about the United States, immigrants just want to harm the United States. And I think this is just like another one of those gotcha videos to fuel the fire and to increase hatred and increase—
That's not true. There is absolutely no proof that all immigrants want to harm the United States, just the very same as there is no proof that all immigrants want to harm Canada. There are quite a few people who immigrate into any and every country that do absolutely nothing but good for their community. They do so much good for their community, they have never done any amount of harm, and they constantly do so much to add and bring infrastructure and add to the culture. Like, what are you talking about, babe? And then there are a few instances, it's a lot less often than the people who bring in good. There are a few instances of people who bring in crime and do awful things once they come here, but there are a lot more people who immigrate into different places that do good rather than bad. And nobody truly believes that any and all people who immigrate into anywhere are just trying to do harm to their country. I genuinely think that that is a horrible statement to make. It's a blanket statement, and it's just an awful point of view to have on the world.
hatred against immigrants, and I think this is disgusting.
So a guy who doesn't go down on you, is that a deal breaker?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a red flag for sure.
I agree. I also think that—
Okay, some men are a little bit traumatized by that. Let's be real. Some men have genuinely been traumatized by dirty pussy. Let's be fucking honest. Let's be fucking for real. It is only a red flag if a man doesn't want to go down on you, if they are like genuinely like, no, it's a deal breaker, I can't do that. But you know what? That is also a comfort thing. That is a comfort thing. There should be no deal breakers there, okay? Like, oh, baby girl. Do you hear yourself? Some men have genuinely been traumatized, okay? Like, for a specific instance, there are... I'm about to pull some fake-ass statistics from my ass, and my sources are, trust me, bro, okay? In my experience, the people that I know out of life, 2 in every 6 women don't properly wash themselves, and if they do properly wash themselves, they don't do it often enough to say that they properly wash themselves, and their vahoo-ha stinks, and they constantly have yeast infections, and they pee and it smells like tuna, and that shit genuinely can seriously traumatize a man in a way that will make you think that... Yeah, that can genuinely traumatize a man. Just because you want that as a woman. Like, these types of things are things that should be spoken about as a couple, because, like, both people need to be comfortable with specific acts in order for them to be perpetrated.
Is a red flag.
If a man doesn't like to eat, that to me, first thing I think is like he's probably gay. He's probably
He's
secretly
gay?
gay. Yeah.
Not attracted to
Yeah.
this. If you expect me to go down on you, you better be willing to return the favor.
I disagree.
Why would you expect something of me that you wouldn't be willing to do?
Do you think this?
Because they have not been traumatized by being blown, however, they have most likely been traumatized by a blue waffle. Sorry to say. Once again, from my personal experience, every 2 out of 6 women I know just don't wash themselves right. And it leads to different really strong smells, or different infections, or different... Some women just straight up got mildew down there, babe. Like, come on.
Standard would be if a woman was desirous of having receptive anal. Do you think she should be like, well, you should be, as the man, you should be willing to let me you? I don't think that's.
That's how I feel a little bit.
Okay,
I
well,
would
I
be
guess-
Really? Really? So, okay. That's just straight up something that nobody should really be doing unless they genuinely know how, because that can be seriously damaging.
Them.
Well, no, here's the thing. It's like, if I'm going to be doing something like that's vulnerable, I would like you to at least try it first. I mean, men have a G-spot up there. We don't. So if you want to...
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Okay. Women do so. Women actually have multiple G-spots. Men only have one, for one. For two, you can't automatically expect a man to want to have everything that he does to you done to him, or to want to do everything to you that you do to him. Like, there has to be a little bit... Everybody has boundaries. These are personal boundaries that people set for a reason that you should not be crossing. And I'm sorry, but baby girl, just because you want something in your butt doesn't mean that he wants something in his butt. And in all reality, that is genuinely something that can hurt you really, really badly if you don't know what you're doing. If you do know what you're doing, everybody involved is, like, completely okay with, like, completely complying with each other, talking to each other, like, continually communicating through the process so that the other person, so that one of the two people does not genuinely get hurt, then that's something that shouldn't be done in general. At least one person has to have some legitimate knowledge about how to do that type of thing. Ooh.
Bend over, baby.
I agree with this woman's sentiment. I mean, obviously, this is a very, like, intimate topic, and I don't personally...
No, men don't... A lot of men don't want that. And that it is their right to say that they don't want that.
I think that women should be coerced into trying a certain thing, especially when it's just specifically for the man's pleasure.
Okay, well, the very same as you don't think that women should be coerced into trying specific things when it is only for the man's pleasure, the very same way men should not be coerced into trying specific things when it is only for the woman's pleasure. And some people genuinely like doing certain things, some people genuinely don't, and that is a hard boundary. And it should be okay for people to be able to set boundaries, especially in a relationship. You are trying to advise unhealthy relationship habits. I don't know how to say this, but things of this nature need to be talked about extensively and decided upon by both people. And relationships are a 50-50. Both people have to both make compromises and set hard boundaries. And when one person makes a compromise or sets a hard boundary, the other person has to go along with the compromise or go along with the hard boundary, the same as if they were to set a boundary or go with a compromise for the other person. 50-50. If it isn't equal, it's not a relationship. Equal amounts of efforts on both sides, babes.
I think this video is very telling because it is hypocritical for men to be like, I expect you to do something for me, but I'm not going to return the favor to you. I think that is misogynistic and hypocritical, which is funny because a lot of the videos on this podcast are trying to...
Okay, so the way that I see it, if one person is not comfortable with certain things, they shouldn't have to do it. The very same, but you also shouldn't withhold specific things that you know that you are comfortable with, that you know that that person enjoys, that you enjoy doing, specifically because they aren't comfortable with something else. Like, girly pop.
Set up these gotcha moments in a way that make the women look like they are being hypocrites. And I think it's really disgusting that he's feeding the narrative of like, women should be able to give me whatever I want and I don't have to please them in return and da-da-da-da-da. And I think it's disgusting for the man to expect that out of you. And I don't think anyone should have to do anything they don't want to do. I agree with her sentiment of like, if you want me to do something, then like you should be willing to try it yourself, because ANAL can be very like damaging and it can be very painful. It can sometimes like ruin the way your body works. I'm not saying that is the case for everyone, but it is an
yes, it can be very painful, it can be very damaging, and it can absolutely ruin the way that your body works, but it can also be very enjoyable. Depending on, like I say, somebody's know-how, their experience, how much, you know, there are a lot of things to think about when it comes to that, and I feel like it is completely unfair for anybody to try to, I don't know, this whole conversation is fairly
uncomfortable thing to get into. I'm not speaking from experience, by the way. Cishet men, I can imagine a lot of them would not be willing to try that and feel uncomfortable.
I am speaking from experience, by the way. It can either be extremely fun or it can fudge you up, and it genuinely has to do with whether or not both parties have knowledge of how to do it, and or whether or not the person who is not receiving is either knowledgeable about how to do it, and or if they are able to properly communicate with the person receiving, that way they can know what they're, how harmful they are being, or possibly if there are certain ways to do certain things. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say
with being asked to do something like that, because they know it's painful and uncomfortable, and
yes.
If you're gonna expect that out of your girl and you're gonna coerce her to do that and you're going to beg her to do that for you, you should at the very least be willing to do the exact same. A lot of these comments are so weird and funny. Someone says, I don't like fish and the smell of it. And I just want to say that I think, first of all,
babe, I genuinely already went through this. I don't like fish and the smell of it. Well, that's because they've been traumatized by one of the 2 in 6 women. 2 out of 6 women don't clean themselves properly down there, and they end up with a bad odor, and it will traumatize men. It happens. My dearest boyfriend has been traumatized by that, like, himself, and it took a while for him to not be traumatized by that, and it's genuinely, like, they stank, babe. Like, and I know women who I have met personally, like, my personal experience, 2 out of every 6 women do not clean themselves right. And it's stanky. They got blue waffles. I'm sorry. Like, okay, if you don't clean your vahuha right, and you use, like, extra scented soaps or something, baby girl, baby girl, baby girl, baby girl, if you don't clean it right and you're using extra scented soaps and you're doing all kinds of different stuff, it's gonna have a bit of a stanky smell, and that's because different soaps and pH levels and stuff and a lot of different scents, actually any scent that you put down there is going to affect your pH levels that are down there and create a bad smell. There is also people who just don't wash down there at all, and then they end up with, like, nasty infections and, like, yeast infections and stuff. It's bad shit. And it's stanky. It be stanky. Dirty pussy ain't good.
all, you probably have not been with a woman if you think that it smells like fish, and if you have been with a woman and it has smelled like fish, maybe there's a pH imbalance happening there, maybe there's a disease happening there, maybe there is like a hygiene issue happening there. And I really think that men saying that women's private parts smell like fish, I think that is like a very misogynistic thing to say, because it is very common.
That's not a misogynistic thing to say. That is genuinely something that men are saying from experience because it stunk. Like, have you ever eaten a woman out? I have. I have had them smell a little bit too perfumey. I have had them smell without a scent, basically without a scent. I have had them smell gnarly, and I'm sorry, but when they smell gnarly and they are like coming at, like, no, 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 I ain't going down there. It ain't happening.
Untrue, and I think that it is used to degrade women and to make them seem like they're gross or disgusting or something. But it does just kind of show who Brian Atlas is as a person. Brian, to me, seems like someone who is insecure with his own sexuality. Examples with the trans woman and this whole conversation that they just had, and like he thinks he's doing something. He thinks that he's being very smart and setting these women up for failure, but at the end
Baby, you think that you're doing something right now. You think that you're being smart. You think that you're setting people up for failure. You think that there are so many different things that you are thinking you are doing right now, but all that you are doing is making yourself look bad and showing that you have an ugly personality and that you do not care about men's mental health.
of the day, he's just making himself look bad.
In what universe, not the LA that I've lived in, is a man walking alone at night in less danger than me, 115-pound blonde girl walking in LA at night? Don't you guys think, like, just physically you're at a bigger risk? Who is statistically at a higher risk of being grabbed? Who's
Your
100?
boyfriend,
Who's
statistic.
Our brains are getting smaller. Our brains are
Okay,
Higher
I just need to
than
re-listen
me.
to that.
look bad.
In what universe, not the LA that I've lived in, is a man walking alone at night in less danger than me, 115-pound blonde girl walking in LA at night? Don't you guys think, like, just physically you're at a bigger risk? Who is statistically at a higher risk of being grabbed? Who's
Your
100?
Okay,
boyfriend.
so she asked the question as a question of if I was walking down the road separately from a man. So at her as a 115-pound, like 5 foot tall girl, if she was walking down the street separately from any man as a female, who would be more likely to get grabbed? A 200-pound, 6 foot tall man or tiny little 115, 5 foot tall her? Well, to be fair, most likely if they were in a separate situation altogether, the woman would be more likely to get attacked. However, if they were in a situation which, like he is trying to state, where they were in a couple, which he obviously is confused, he is saying, like, well, if you were out with your boyfriend, then obviously he would be the one to get grabbed, which that's a very dependent variable. Because yes, the man is going to be the most likely person to have the money in that scenario, right? Like, they're the most likely person who's going to get robbed, but the woman's more likely to get attacked and used as a hostage in any type of a situation. To be like, it's always going to be the woman is more likely to be attacked. However, statistically speaking, in certain areas, men out walking alone are more likely to get attacked than women out walking alone, just because they kind of peacock, right? Like, okay, women who are out dressed flashy and, like, don't have a big ass purse or whatever, like, you know for a fact just looking at them they're not going to be carrying anything other than, like, an expensive watch and some jewelry. Men, on the other hand, you see them, oh, they're all, like, suited up, they got a big watch on, like, you know that they have their wallet on them and never leave their house without their wallet, because they need their credit cards, their money, their keys, whatever. It's all in their fucking wallet, and that's tiny as hell, and that fits right in their pocket. So yes, a man is more likely to get attacked just for that expensive watch alone. If a nice looking man is out, yeah, he's more likely to get attacked by a robber than a woman, because a woman is less likely to have money.
Statistic.
Our brains are getting smaller. Our brains are getting smaller. This dude's brain, I don't know if he's rage baiting or if he genuinely thinks this. He just said that statistically, there's a man and a woman walking.
I feel like it's both. Like, he's both rage baiting and he genuinely knows that, like, if a man is out walking and a woman is out walking, if the man is, like, dressed just as nicely as the woman and they have, like, just as expensive stuff on, anybody is going to realize that the woman, especially if she doesn't have, like, a clutch purse or something, isn't going to have anything on her. She might have a $20 bill in her bra, but other than that, generally speaking, especially in certain areas where robberies and stuff happen, the woman's not usually going to be carrying anything because they be getting by on pretty privilege. A man, though, a man's going to be carrying his wallet. A man is going to be having his watch on him. He is going to have his phone on him. He's going to have everything, and he's going to be, especially if they're, like, looking nice. Those are prime robbery targets. Does this woman know anything?
Down the street that the man is more likely to get harassed and
like, I genuinely, if I know that I'm going somewhere, especially even in Canada, if I know that we're going somewhere that's a little bit of a rough neighborhood, I will genuinely like make my boyfriend scruff himself up a little bit. Like, I will mess his hair up. I'll take, if he's wearing anything expensive, I'll make him take it off, put it in his pockets, like that shit. Absolutely not. He's taking off his nice sweater and putting on a fucking flannel, bitch. Like, no.
like beaten up essentially.
Who's 115 pounds and who's almost 200 pounds?
If we're talking about statistics, yes, men are more likely to be victims of violent crime.
Yeah, but we are talking about in this specific instance, dude. Listening to this man makes me feel dumber. Maybe this is why.
In this specific instance, everybody is confused right now because what she is asking about is separately speaking. He is talking about if it was a man and a woman walking together. But the thing is that in both instances, yes, the man is more likely, like, the woman is more likely to get attacked in the instance where it is a man walking with his girlfriend, because that woman is going to be used as a hostage situation. A man walking by himself without a girl is more likely to get attacked at any point in time because it's a robbery. Bro is a robbery spot. Like, do people not understand this?
These women can't answer like how many freaking countries there are in one continent, because just simply by being in the same room as Brian, their just brain cells are rapidly devolving because the things that come out of his mouth are just so mind-numbingly stupid. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. He's trying to purposefully misunderstand and mislead the conversation to make him look right. We are very obviously talking about a specific instance. He is trying to use the statistic of men being more likely to have violence, but he's talking in a general sense, and he is purposely not addressing the specific instance.
It is a general sense, and the specific instance doesn't particularly matter when it pertains, like, he kind of is talking about the specific instance. Like, if a man was out walking by himself late at night, like 2 streets over from a woman out walking by herself late at night, and there were people who were out there violently robbing people on both streets, then the man is a lot more likely to get attacked than the woman is, because a man is more likely to be carrying more expensive items and or their entire wallet with all of their money and stuff in it, whereas a woman is most likely to just have a $20 bill in their bra and a cell phone. Especially if she doesn't have a purse. Like, if you don't have a purse on you, then you are not a robbery target. I'm sorry to inform you, ma'am. And yes, in the instance that he is specifically referring to, the man is absolutely more likely as well to be... Well, not really. In the instance that he's referring to, the woman would be more likely to be attacked because of the fact that she would be being used as a hostage in said situation in order to get whatever the robber wants from the man who is the robbery victim. Girl, logically speaking, if you were to genuinely put yourself into the mind of a criminal for a minute, you would understand that.
Oh my god.
Speaking from experience, it feels like the females.
Who's more likely to be victimized versus who feels more scared? I don't care about how you feel.
I also really
I mean, depending upon the situation, what they're talking about here, like, in the situation of a robbery, yeah, a man is definitely more likely to be attacked. In the situation of, like, specific types of violent crimes, like if it's somebody who's out there looking for somebody to attack for specific purposes of mahexumal instances, then yeah, a woman is a hell of a lot more likely to get attacked than a man, because they're a lot easier of a victim.
Really hate seeing a man talk about a woman's issue and the fear that women have walking down the street, especially alone at night. As a man, you have probably never known what that has felt like. You have probably never feared for your life walking down the street alone. Yeah, maybe the thought runs through.
The reason that women fear for our lives walking down the street alone is for specific reasons not pertaining to robbery. It is because we are afraid of being raped and then murdered. It has nothing to do with robbery situations, which men face a hell of a lot more often. Specifically because of the perception that men are caretakers, that they are providers, that they have... Like, girl, are you genuinely not thinking about this?
your mind that, oh my god, I hope I don't get robbed or jumped or something like that. But probably most men feel completely fine and comfortable walking down the street alone, especially at night. And you as a man do not.
Unless you are carrying a big ass purse with a lot of money on you, no woman is worried that they're going to be robbed at night. Unless you are carrying a freshly printed paycheck that you are taking to a bank account directly to a deposit machine, you are not worried about being robbed at night. Unless you are genuinely carrying something valuable, you are not worried about a fucking robbery as a woman. You are worried about almost any other violent act being committed upon you, but a robbery is typically the least of your worries. And if you are stupid enough to be out in the middle of the night to go walk to an ATM with a freshly printed check or something like, or any type of a valuable object, walking without anybody to help you for protection, then that is on you, stupid. And I'm not saying no, you shouldn't be doing that, but I am saying that we know as females that there are awful people out there. So why are we taking these risks? There's a reason that for multiple generations women never went anywhere alone. And when we did, bad things happened.
Know or understand the fear that women have. Guys, I feel scared to walk on the street by myself during the day. I don't want to get catcalled. I don't want to get kidnapped. I don't want to get grabbed. Worst of all, I do not want to get...
I don't want to be a cunt here, but no one is ever gonna catcall you. I don't want to be a bitch, but looking at you, you're not gonna get catcalled. Yes, you're pretty. Absolutely every woman in existence is absolutely beautiful in their own way, shape, or form, especially in their own special little ways. However, I can guarantee that nobody is going to catcall you based on your looks alone. There are extremely few men who are attracted to the scary septic ring and microbang look, and to be completely honest, the men who are attracted to that are not confident enough to yell at you from the side of the road. So, shut the fuck up.
Broad daylight.
You're
I don't
afraid
fully
for
feel comfortable
nothing.
going on a walk in my neighborhood in the daytime. And you as a man especially...
Okay, if your neighborhood specifically is that bad, babe, you need to move. You genuinely need to move or learn what the number for, like, you need to learn that 911 is the number for 911. Oh my god. I don't know why this woman's, the way that she thinks genuinely just gave me a flashback to a man screaming, "What's the number for 911?" I was around 8 years old. That's what she makes me think of. She is the type of person who doesn't know the number for 911. It literally is 911. You just put 911 in your phone. She doesn't know how to type 911.
Will not ever feel a fraction of what it is like. So genuinely, it really pisses me off to hear a man tell women how it is. It's really disgusting to hear a man tell women that you're wrong and men are more at risk and da-da-da-da-da. I don't care if you feel scared walking on the street alone, but hey, guess what? Men are the people who set that system up. And it's really disgusting to hear a man that has never had to fear for his life walking down the street a day in his life tell women that they shouldn't be scared.
Babe, buy a rape whistle. Buy a rape whistle. And I'm sorry, but if you are genuinely scared to walk around your neighborhood in the middle of the daytime, you need to, one, learn that calling the police is not an awful thing. Some people genuinely need to have the authorities called on them. You crazy fucking liberal extremist. And two, I think that you need to make some adjustments to the way that you're walking around. Like, you need to, like, make sure that you feel comfortable. You need to take specific precautions yourself. I walk around with knitting needles in my purse, babe. Like, I am a knitter, and because I am a knitter, I take my knitting everywhere. But I also know, based off of multitudes of news reports, that if need be, I can genuinely just slide one of those knitting needles out of that sock I'm knitting and stab someone in the neck if I need to. If I have I keep an extremely loud whistle attached to my purse, just in case. I've never ever in my life thought that I was going to need to use this. I genuinely keep self-defense tools very close to me just in case, but I've never felt uncomfortable enough that I thought that I was going to need to use those. And I'm sorry, but if I go out doing something stupid at night and acting like an idiot, and like if I'm out at 3 o'clock in the morning walking down to a bank machine to deposit a check at 3 a.m. and somebody robs me, I'm not going to blame genuinely not going to blame it on society or misogyny. I'm going to say, well, that was my stupid fault for being out at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning with a freshly printed check with my name written on it. Duh?
And that he feels like it's stupid that women are scared. You're a disgusting piece of shit.
Let's say you're walking around in a crowded area. I think if I get jumped by a random person, nobody's coming to help me. If some guy starts thrashing on you, you have free bodyguards. And in fact, if stranger men see a stranger woman getting beat up by a stranger man or any man, that guy's gonna get curb stomped by totally random other men. This is undeniable.
That is not 100% true, and that is not 100% guaranteed. There is this very real thing called the bystander effect. If you look up any video or any social experiments about the bystander effect,
yes, the bystander effect is real, and there have been social experiments about the bystander effect. And yes, there are people who will not get involved with specific situations to protect their own safety. However, there are just as many, if not more people, who are very heavily willing to get involved in specific situations, especially when it pertains to a man attacking a woman. Just because, do you know how many white knights are actually out there, babe? There are people who have genuinely seen these situations go down, where a man is just being a tiny bit aggressively speaking to a woman, and then 2 or 3 guys come out of nowhere just to yell at them. However, I have also been witness to a couple of men in a fight with one lady, and guess what? I know this lady. And every single person around was sitting there like, should we go help her? Should we do something? And then we all just kind of looked at each other like, nah, she's good. You know who that is, right? Like, she gonna take them out in 5 seconds. You watch. She just gonna pick them up by the scruff of their necks and knock their heads together. These are the types of situations that you have to account for, you dumb bitch.
there have literally been videos where they have staged a kidnapping. They have staged a kidnapping for a woman and a child on the street. And guess what? Most people, 9 times out of 10, just stood there and did nothing. That claim is
When it comes to a child, a lot of people are going to walk past and assume that that is a parent trying to wrangle their unruly kid. When it comes to a woman, most people are probably not going to just walk past that. Personally, if I see something going down, it wouldn't matter if it was a man, woman, or child. If somebody was getting drug into any vehicle against their will, I'm gonna go get involved. I don't give a fuck who you are. So, I don't give a shit about my life. I don't give a fuck about my own safety. I give a fuck about everybody else. I will be okay with being the person that gets stabbed to help somebody not get abducted. But guess what? Not everybody is willing to put their life at risk for somebody else because they have other people in their lives who genuinely depend on them, and it isn't worth it. They will go home and make the police report later. They will give all of the information needed, and guess what? That person will be found, hopefully by the end of the day.
Not 100% true, and I feel like that claim that he is saying that, like, oh, well, something happens to you, you just have free bodyguards everywhere, and people are just going to stand up for you wherever you are. Even though
if something happens, a person does not have free bodyguards everywhere, and once again, it depends on the time of day, it depends on the situation, it depends on who is around. But you also have to account for the fact that it is a hell of a lot more likely for a woman to get assisted in that type of a situation than it is for a man to. You have to admit to this. Otherwise, you're just blatantly being sheerly stupid. Because people see men as the stronger gender. They don't see women as being... Most women are not seen as being strong enough to handle themselves in that type of a situation. For some unbeknownst reason, people genuinely look at a man and think, oh, they're going to be fine. We'll just pull out a cell phone and videotape it.
Not true. I feel like he is saying that from a place of jealousy. And there are so many men who are jealous of women because they feel like women have it better than them. Some men, I'm not saying all men, some men feel like women just have everything handed to them and that they live lavish lives and that they don't have to lift a finger.
And there are also women who are genuinely jealous of men who fully believe that they have everything handed to them and that they don't have to lift a finger and that they get handed everything that they want in life. It goes both ways. This is so hypocritical. No, let's just fast forward some because I can't with this girl.
Some weight, big nose, got a big nose in looks. I give myself 4.5. Yeah, I think I'm going to give you, 5.5. 5.5. Honestly, too much makeup. The color contacts, you have had quite a bit of plastic surgery, right? Okay. I honestly don't know. It's hard to give a rating. It could be anywhere from like 5.5 to 6.5. I'd probably err closer to the 6.5. You have a
This is a big bit that he does on his podcast, is like rating women by their looks, and I think it's very superficial and disgusting, and I don't really.
It might be superficial and disgusting, but did you notice that he rated himself lower than every woman on that podcast? He genuinely thinks of himself as uglier than everyone there, in a physical standpoint. Therefore, I don't get where you're coming from.
Really understand why this is like a necessary portion to the podcast, and I oftentimes see him asking the women what they think they would rate themselves. I'd say about half of the women rate themselves as a 10, because the women who rate themselves as a 10 love themselves and have confidence. I've seen many of these women give the sentiment that other women should see themselves as 10s because they need to love themselves.
I genuinely believe that every woman is by technicality a 10 in one way, shape, or form. Every woman is absolutely beautiful in their own way, and yes, you should try to see yourself as a 10. Whether you are upping your rating because of your personality, or if you are genuinely like the most beautiful human being ever. But there is a difference between having confidence and seeing yourself as a beautiful human being and sheer delusion. Because I have seen some women on this podcast who are both terrible human beings and kind of definitely unattractive in every way, shape, and form. Like, there are a few, and it is straight up delusion for them to call themselves 10s. I'm sorry, but if you are a horrible human being and you're ugly, you don't get to be a 10. Like, you're I'm sorry, and Demetri, you are a genuinely pretty person. However, your personality takes you from a 9.5 directly down to a 2. And it's literally just because you're a stupid hypocrite.
Women are beautiful, and we need to have confidence, and we
personality
should all
counts a
see
lot.
ourselves as 10s. And whenever a woman makes a statement like that, Brian always has to immediately shut it down and be like, well, you're not a 10. Well, why do you think you're a 10? Da, 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 da. He's so threatened by confident, strong women. It's weird to see him like freak out over whenever a woman calls herself a 10, because he immediately has to like
And you're threatened by any man even thinking about suggesting questioning any type of thought pattern that you have in your brain. You're just terrified of it. You hate the idea of anybody disagreeing with you to a point where it's absolutely ridiculous.
knock them down a peg. And quite honestly, at the end of the day, it just shows how insecure he is as a person. And this entire podcast as a whole is a huge, blaring red flag signal that this man is just insecure, and the only way he can make himself feel better is by putting women down in the process. These red pill men feel threatened by strong, charismatic, confident women.
Kind of like how so far this entire video is just you basically telling me that you're insecure in your femininity and that you hate men and that you want men to be taken down a peg, and that so far you want absolutely nothing other than supremacy over men and to be able to talk for groups of people that have absolutely nothing to do with you, that you are not even an advocate for or even an ally of or genuinely a part of. So why the fuck are you speaking for anyone?
And so they always have to put women down some way, shape, or form. Someone says, what's everyone's obsession with perfection and numbers? How about just let people be themselves? And I fully agree with that. Why do you feel like you have to physically rate these people with numbers? And why do you think that that defines them? And it really just shows how shallow he is as a person. And quite honestly, this kind of shows like how he thinks other people see him. He probably thinks that the world
Baby girl, I'm going to say this once and once only. Rating somebody with a number isn't necessarily a bad thing. And that number isn't typically only based upon looks. It's not always just based on looks. That number is usually based upon looks, personality, the way that you treat people, the way that you act in specific situations, your emotional mentality. That number is based upon a lot of different things. It's not just your looks. And once again, he rated himself lower than every single woman that he rated. Everybody who he gave a number to, their number was higher than the one he gave himself. And I don't think he did that on purpose. He was genuinely thinking about these things while he was doing the ratings. And he was genuinely, like, bringing up certain things about the personality, like, girl, the number rating system is genuinely a person rating how much they think somebody would be compatible with them.
Shallow in that no one is going to see him other than a number, and I just think he's a deeply insecure man who is threatened by strong women. I've seen him exhibit a lot of like jealousy towards these women, probably because deep down inside he's just a little shrimp of a man. He probably hates himself, he's probably deeply insecure, and he is charading it and parading it around as if he's better than women and
I feel like this is a lot of self-reflection right now. This is a lot of self-reflection from somebody who genuinely hates men, is afraid of men, is jealous of them, and just wants to feel superior. Like, that's what this whole video feels like to me. She just wants to be superior to men.
What century are we in?
I have no clue.
What year was the U.S. founded?
1845.
1907.
He brings women like this on his show to make himself feel better. He intentionally gets women like this on his show that he knows are going to answer these questions incorrectly just to make him feel better about himself, just to boost his ego, just for him to say, you know what, I'm smarter than these dumb little women. What a cop-out, honestly. What? This is so lame. There's no...
I mean, if he had you on the podcast, he'd be smarter than you too, because everyone is. What the fuck?
way that just coincidentally every single woman that you invite onto your podcast just coincidentally...
How about coincidentally, how is it that you are genuinely only picking out the most abhorrent areas of any podcast that they have ever done, specifically so that you can rip it apart and call this man a misogynist? I feel like this is a bit of the pot calling the kettle black.
Doesn't know the answer to any of these little questions. This is purposeful, and he's doing this to make him feel better and to make women look less than. And the people who genuinely believe that like this is real and that they think that like all women are...
Okay, because I kind of feel like being a fucking bitch now. We're just gonna go directly to her channel. And we're gonna take a look at her videos and her thumbnails. Cheating on your partner with AI. Married AI instead of his girlfriend. Okay. Wonder what she has to say about that. Goths against cancel culture is so out of touch. Babe. You're a goth in cancel culture, and you are out of touch, and you have no idea about anything that you're talking about. You are genuinely fucking stupid. If it's not Christian, it's demonic. Okay. Why pick me behavior is embarrassing. Babe, you are the feminist pick-me. Make goth great again. How to be a red pill goth was worse than I expected. Oh my god. Why conservative men love goth women. That's not true. These incels are actually insane. Babe, you're insane. If they do this, they hate you. Being friends with people that hate... Girl... So basically every single video on your channel is you both hating everybody within your own community and hating men. Have you...
Single women that you invite onto your podcast just coincidentally doesn't know the answer to any of these little questions. This is purposeful, and he's doing this to make him feel better and to make...
Yes, he did it on purpose because he wanted to show that these specific influencers have no idea what they're fucking talking about. Oh my god. So, this has been my video. You know what? You guys can go finish this one yourselves because my nerves cannot handle this woman. This has been us reacting to Demetri Falco and her absolutely abhorrent views on absolutely every... I'm sorry, but this woman is so fucking stupid. This is just sheer fucking stupidity at this point. How can you argue about women's rights when you are arguing against the rights of men? And just, every feminist who ever lived would be rolling in their fucking grave right now. I actually want the Whatever podcast to bring on Demetri Falco, whatever the fuck her name is. I don't even care. I want them to bring her on so that somebody can just try to own her. Can I interview her, please? Like, can I talk to her? Like, I do want to interview this woman and, like, have a genuine debate because It's just stupid hypocrisy. How can you be that stupid and that hypocritical and that fucking horrible and have that abhorrent of views and still just sit there like, I'm right and I'm on my high horse and everybody has to adhere to what I think? Babe. Babe, 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 babe. You need help. You genuinely, like, need mental help. So the whole reason that I even wanted to do this video in the first place was because she starts getting into how her mother was is because of a specific statement that was made around the end of the video, okay? So the question that was asked in the clip was, if women have the right to abort their children, then men should also have the right to abandon them. And now, I feel like if it is in the same, it was worded incorrectly in the first place. But if they're talking in the same terms of men should have the right to sign a paper so that they don't have to be parentally responsible for a child, the very same as a woman has a right within a certain amount of time to abort a baby, I feel like that's a correct statement. I'm sorry. But at the end of the day, she genuinely believes that it does not matter about the situation or what happened or what agreement or conversation was had before the conception of the child, after the conception of the child, or before the point in time when an abortion can be had. She genuinely believes that in any and every situation, even if it's a one-night stand, that the man is automatically responsible for, even if he is not informed about the pregnancy, that the man is automatically responsible and absolutely has to pay child support in every situation. Well, no. I don't agree with that. I genuinely think that if, say, there are multiple different situations that we can refer to here. So, basically, if two people have been together for a certain amount of time, and they decide that they want to start trying for a baby, and they both decide that they want this baby, and then the baby is born, and it's been a little while, and then the man just leaves, yes, he should have to pay child support. He wanted that child. He agreed to have that child. He wanted to be a parent. He doesn't get to change his mind. The very same as a woman doesn't just get to change her mind. However, if a conversation was had before birth, and the man asked if the woman would be okay with having an abortion, and she said no, she would absolutely not be okay with having an abortion, and she wants to keep the baby. Well, that is okay. That is her body, her choice. But the man has already stated that he doesn't want to have the baby, and she believes that the man should not have a choice to sign away rights to not be parentally responsible for this child. Even though if a woman were to want to have an abortion and the man wanted to have the child, he wouldn't have any say and that baby would be aborted. But if a man wanted to sign a paper stating that he doesn't want to have rights to that child, that shouldn't matter. He should still have to pay child support. If he never wanted to be a parent in the first place, if it was a one-night stand that resulted in a pregnancy, he still has to pay child support. Well, we also have to think about the different... Women are more responsible when it comes... we are more responsible for the result when it comes down to it. We have more opportunity to take precautions. Women are able to go on birth control pills. We are able to have IUDs. There are so many different ways that women can, and will utilize to not get pregnant, to avoid pregnancy. There are only two options for men, and those two options for men are surgery. They can have a surgery or wear a condom. Now, there is only one issue with condoms. The issue is that they don't always fit everyone. So you're she's basically saying that if this man can't fit into the protection, that he either has to have a surgery. He absolutely has to have a surgery, otherwise any outcome is on him. Because the woman decided to be completely irresponsible with her body. Because at the end of the day, like I say, we can take birth control. We can get IUDs. We can utilize spermicides. You can put a spermicide in there. There are different types of condoms that are made specifically for the female. That, and I'm sorry, men can't put those on, and they can't put those in for us. Okay? We have the morning after pill, and we have abortion. And there are so many different valleys and ways that women can utilize to prevent pregnancy. Men genuinely only have a painful surgical procedure or a thin piece of plastic. It is genuinely on women to be fully responsible for that type of thing. It is not something that we can just blame men for, because at the end of the day, that condom didn't fit. We fully had the opportunity to use a spermicide or to take a morning after pill or to use any type of protection to prevent a pregnancy. Didn't do that, so... And the man already stated that he doesn't want to have kids. So automatically, why should that automatically go directly onto the man? Why should that automatically be his responsibility? And why should he have to pay for a woman being irresponsible with her own body? And I hate to be the bitch who comes right out and says it, but if there was no conversation, it was a one-night stand, and somebody didn't know that they were pregnant until long after the point in time when... Like, if you've gone more than 5 or 6 months and you're just like, oh, well, you haven't had your period, nothing's happening. I don't give a shit how irregular you are. After 3 or 4 months of not seeing, even spotting, you're not going to question that and take a test. That's sheerly being irresponsible with your body. You need to go see someone, take a test, do something. Talk to someone about that, because that's not fucking normal. You can't be irresponsible with your own body and blame men for it. Yes, it is true that there are very, very, very few studies conducted that have to do with the female anatomy. However, you can't just purposely be irresponsible and then say, oh, well, it's the man's fault. He has to pay for the baby because I didn't know I was pregnant until it popped out. Get the fuck over yourself. And just because your mother was a single mother does not mean that your mother's experience is automatically every single mother's experience. Some women have been going around doing this with every single man in sight, and then they pop out 6 or 7 kids. They don't even know who the fucking father is. Guess what? They're automatically making random people pay at the nose. They're paying for DNA tests, all kinds of different shit. And you know what? It's genuinely because they were irresponsible enough with their bodies to do all of that. But yet, according to everybody else, it's all of the men's fault. It is the fault of the multitudes of men that they decided to spread their legs for. So it's the men's fault that she went swinging from dick to dick and doesn't know who the daddy is, so now she has to get 12 DNA tests. There are genuinely situations that you are not accounting for. And I am so sorry, Demetri, if your parents split up during your childhood and your father didn't want to pay child support or didn't want to be a part of your life. However, if he had a conversation with your mother before you were even born and stated that he didn't fucking want you, he shouldn't have to pay child support. He should have never had to pay for anything for you. He should have never had to be a part of your life. That shouldn't be forced upon everyone. And anyone. And you know what? I understand that that is an extremely emotional, horrible thing to deal with. That is an extremely horrible thing for me to say in general, and that is an awful thing that you may have had to deal with. But at the end of the day, that's not his fault. That is your mother's fault. And it is, if a man makes the decision that he should not be a parent, because it would be extremely irresponsible for him to decide to be a parent, because his lifestyle and his choices and the way that he lives his life, everything, the type of environment that that kid would be in wouldn't be suitable. Who the hell are you to say that that man automatically has to be, like, and once again, no man should be forced into paying for a child that he didn't agree to have in the first place. If women can have abortions, men should be able to have the right within 3 months of a pregnancy to walk the fuck away without any repercussions, as long as they sign a paper. Because there are women who will genuinely tamper with protection specifically to get pregnant, so that they can rope men into their lives and make it so that they have no choice but to be a part of their life by utilizing that child. And genuinely utilizing a life that they brought into this world, they purposely brought into this world, specifically to utilize that little human to torture that man. And I genuinely hope to God that that was not your situation, but if it was, maybe you should stop defending your fucking mother. Ugh! Sorry that got heated. Here she goes. Here she goes again. Racing through my brain. And I just can't complain.